Hello, common people of the interwebs. This is Deep Fried Neurons podcast. I share stories that I find interesting, and this week we celebrate because my channel has hit 1,000 views. To most people, that's nothing. I get it. I genuinely do. But even if this channel doesn't make it big, I just want to share stories with you guys as long as I can. Anyway, I just wanted to say that before I start this episode and have fun. For this story to completely work, I'm gonna ask my non-Maharashtrian audience or non-Marathi speaking audience rather to remember one word. It's a name. I swear, it's a name. It's not a word. That's Chiutai. Chiutai is what children here call children in Marathi speaking households call a sparrow, because chew as in the chirping sound that a sparrow makes, and tai as in a designation that you would give to somebody who is or is deemed to be an elder sister. So this entire story begins when Chiutai gets pregnant with 2 eggs, and the same day her husband disappears. We're not sure if he abandoned her when he left to get a pack of cigarettes, or he just sat on a wire and then was never heard from again. So now Chiutai was all alone in the middle of the forest in Konkan, wondering what to do, how to raise these children alone, and what would be the best for them. I mean, there's a jungle out there, and she's worried that the predators will get them. So she decides to go to the city. In this case, Mumbai, because it's closer than Pune and she wouldn't have to cross the hills. She goes to Mumbai with the pure intentions of giving her children a fair chance at their childhood. Her husband was always reluctant to go to the city because he didn't want his children to turn into obnoxious assholes. A fair concern from where he's coming from. He's never left the forest in his entire life, and all he's seen of the city is obnoxious children. Hence, now that she has the autonomy, given her husband has abandoned her, she moves to Mumbai and she looks for a place to settle in. First, she considers settling in Kharghar, Navi Mumbai, but unfortunately, it's too much dust from the construction, and she can barely breathe, let alone nurture the children. So she flies across the bridge and goes to Mumbai, where she plans to stay near the ocean and enjoy the view. But the problem there is that it is pigeon territory, and the pigeons basically act like bullies and goons around the area. At the same time, the winds from the ocean are way too strong and way too humid, which makes her wings heavy, making it more difficult to fly with a pregnant belly. She finally settles on going to Khar in Vandre or Bandra, and that's where she finds a 7th floor apartment window where she could lay her nest. There's a badam tree right in front. The sun is not too harsh. There's no predators that she could think about. So she's like, might as well lay the eggs here. So she starts building a nest, collects leaves, dry leaves from the floor, some little leaves from the tree, branches, whatever she can get her hands on to build her nest. Plastic, paper. You gotta improvise in Mumbai because the real estate nightmare is real here. So she really is trying hard. And then she finds a window open to the flat she's building the nest next to, and she goes in, finds chocolate wrappers and all these grass in neatly tied packages, which she uses. And then she also finds a lot of these tiny strips kept on the table. So she picks one up and she accidentally swallows one while flying. Now, this strip was actually 1200 micrograms of LSD. After having this 1200 micrograms of LSD, Chiutai is basically tripping balls. While she's tripping balls, everything that is realistic and sketchy around her turns into cartoon. The badam leaves are all small sparrow buds. The eagles and vultures are throwing a party, and one of the crows is El Padrine at the party. The ocean has caught on fire, and the humans seem to be very nice species. It's a mix of good and bad, and she's completely clueless of what she's feeling and where she is and how she got there for 16 hours straight. After she comes back from the trip, um, she recognizes that she's already laid the eggs in the window, but they're not in the nest. So she starts building the nest around the eggs. She never thought that the music around the house would be so loud, but now she's got to manage it because the eggs are already there. While she's nurturing for these eggs and building around them and, like, in general constructing her life around it, she thinks about everything she thought while she was on LSD, and she starts some intense reading after her LSD trip, and she starts making friends and she tries to understand what those things were, and all these thoughts that occur to her basically lead her to a misguided sense of enlightenment or a guided sense of enlightenment. I mean, who knows what's true with these things. But after reading a lot of Camus and Nietzsche and being friends with a lot of crows who have been the ugly species for the longest time, and some disadvantaged female pigeons who are regularly beaten by their male counterparts who are always bullying people around and shitting on cars in South Bombay, she makes her views about society. And right before her eggs are about to hatch, she decides that these children is not what she wanted with her life. Her life in the forest is not what she wanted with her life, and she starts regretting everything. She becomes a chain smoker, and all she does now is whine about the fact that life is not worth living, and it has never been worth living. These children grow up, these children hatch out of the eggs, and she can barely muster the will to go out and get food for them and for herself. Usually she would smoke a pack of cigarettes and won't be back for hours and hours straight. And these kids fall in the bad company of a bunch of koyals which live across the window on the badam tree, almond tree, which their mother stole from some crow or something like that. I know that Mumbaikars are going to say that there are no koyals in Mumbai, but this is a story about Chiutai. Shut the fuck up. Koyals have these extremely good voices, but they're also very selfish. They're like, push your sibling down. They're always turning the siblings against each other, looking at their mother, not give them attention, and be always very cold and distant to them. These kids turn to seeking validation in other places than where they are. The younger one of the Chiutai's sons is actually a little bit timid. The older sibling, along with the Koyals, end up bullying him quite a lot. And one fine day, he just jumps off the window, not knowing how to fly, and he barely survives and breaks one of his wings. The crow who came there for dead animals and their meat so that he could have food for a while, saw what was going on this tree, and he contacted Kiran Bedi and Aapki Kachori, the show that she runs. If you're not familiar what Aapki Kachori is, it's like Law and Order, but the Indian version and much more loud. The sparrow, the koyals, and the two children end up on Aapki Kachori, and Kiran Bedi decides that these koyals are pieces of shit. So they must go to a psychiatric association, and then she talks to the Chiutai, and the Chiutai is like, I had this LSD and it changed my life, and now I um don't want these children and shit like that. Kiran Bedi is basically like, go commit, die, you drug doing hippie. And then they declare the children to be ward of the states, and the sparrow, even now willing to mother these children, is not allowed to see them anymore. Okay, my fellow fidget spinners, that's it for this week. And don't hit the dislike button. I, I'm just trying to keep it surreal, guys. Fucking chutai, guys. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. Leave a like. Um, Go follow us on social media for memes. If you're listening to this on SoundCloud, then follow me on SoundCloud. Subscribe to it on Stitcher or Spotify or iTunes or wherever you get your podcast shit. If you're on YouTube, smash subscribe and keep tuning in, I guess. And special congratulations to the 9-year-old army out there. If there are any 9-year-olds like myself listening, well done. I mean, I did not see that coming. Like, there is no way that this war is ending. Like, it's just so obnoxious. I love it. And yeah, support us on Patreon if you can. We got our first Patreon supporter who was on my Instagram, and that's another achievement to celebrate. See you guys next week.